Well, hello again. This is Brian Copeland. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. If all goes well, a little bit later on, we'll be joined by three distinguished comics who will join us for our headliners on the headline segment. We'll talk about some of the news of the week. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Today, being Wednesday, we record this podcast on Wednesdays, and it drops on Thursdays. There has been a resolution that has been introduced in the House of Representatives to expel Representative George Santos of New York, they keep calling him a serial fabulist. I love that. He's a fabulist. How about he's a liar? What fabulous? He's a liar. I mean, the guy even lied about his own name. And they tried twice to expel him, but they didn't have the votes. In order to expel somebody from the House of Representatives, you need a 2/3 majority, and they were well short of that, with a number of his Republican colleagues saying that they would not vote to expel because there had not been due process. He hadn't been officially charged with anything, when in fact he had. There are 23 federal counts against him for various financial manipulations and misuse of campaign funds and things. Well, the House Ethics Committee came out with a damning report about 10 days ago, listing all of the things that he's done. Just, something we hadn't heard about, where, for example, his campaign was soliciting donations from people and having them put the donations on their credit cards. And then Santos and or his people would take the credit card information and put charges on the card without the permission or the knowledge of the donor, and use the card to charge personal expenses. I mean, he was doing things like, charging for designer clothes and expensive dinners and an OnlyFans account even that he put on somebody's card. So there's all this kind of stuff. So now, in light of the House Ethics Committee report coming out, you have a number of congressmen and congresswomen who voted against expelling him, who have now flipped. There's something like 90 of them who have flipped and said that if it comes up to it for a vote now, they will in fact vote to get rid of him. Now, the question is whether or not it's going to be enough to hit the 2/3. The most recent thing I read right before coming on to record here is that the Speaker of the House, Speaker Johnson, says that he has some reservations about whether or not he should be removed, whether or not Santos should be removed, because he has not been convicted of anything. It's like, come on, the guy even lied about his own name. It's funny, but it's not funny. I mean, it's funny because it's just so ridiculous. It's gone so incredibly far, the things that this guy lied about, and it's just. I mean, I'm speechless, as you can tell. I'm speechless because there's just so much here. But he has reservations, and we know what the reservations are about. It's about the fact that the Republican majority in the House of Representatives is razor thin. It's something like 4 or 5, and they cannot afford to lose this vote. They really can't afford to lose his vote. If they kick him out, what happens is there is a special election in his district in upstate New York, and there is a slim to zero chance that the Republicans are going to hold on to that seat when there's the special election, which will take place. If he's kicked out today, tomorrow, sometime this week, you're looking at this special election to take place in the special election will take place in, I believe, March is when it's projected to happen. So stay tuned. We'll see whether or not they get rid of him this time. If they don't kick you out for stuff like this, nobody should ever be kicked out of Congress for anything ever again. My opinion. This is the part of the podcast we call Headliners on the Headlines. Joining us, two of my favorites. Lauren Mayer is here with us. Don Reed is here with us. Kate Robards is supposed to be joining us from New York, and she may be having some technical issues. So if all goes well, we will drop her in as soon as she pops up. If not, it'll be the three of us. So happy after Thanksgiving. Happy post Thanksgiving. You guys eat a lot. Everything good?
Yeah. Thanks.
It was my birthday. So it's interesting how you exponentially get more congratulations of birthday, but also exponentially more family around to have their conflicts. Yeah, I remember that time when really, thank you. Happy birthday, slap. Indigenous Peoples Drama Day.
We used to have a magnet on our refrigerator that's a George Burns quote: "Happiness is a warm, loving family in another time zone."
That's
So-
a great quote.
Isn't that
Having
great?
your birthday on a holiday on a major holiday can be kind of a drag.
Oh, it's
Mine turns up on Easter every 7 or 8 years. My birthday, I'm April 21st. So every 7 or 8 years or so, it'll fall on Easter.
well, it
I got another
stinks.
friend who's born on Christmas.
My best friend
Oh.
from college is December 31st. So
On
he
New
used to
Year's
think
Eve.
he used to think the fireworks were for him. And my birthday is almost always in the middle of Hanukkah. So I used to get birthday presents with the Hanukkah paper ripped off. I could see little traces. Oops, put birthday paper on it.
Or the good old, I lumped these two together.
Yes, I always get your Hanukkah and birthday is the same. So
Yeah, my brother and sister got the double lumping. My birthday's on the 23rd. Theirs was on the 26th and the 27th. And they always look at me with disdain, like, you got extra. And a separated token. Happy birthday. Ours is a clumper, you know.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh.
Well, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And happy birthday to you, Lauren. Yours is
Thank
coming
you.
up in a couple of
Next
days.
week, yeah.
All right, let's kick off with this. What I talked about in my monologue before bringing you guys on is that a resolution introduced in the House today to kick out George Santos. Finally, now
Yes.
whether or not they have the votes, who knows? Who knows? So I was going through some of the things that he has lied about, and I don't know what you guys remember and what you don't.
How long
So
have you
I'm
got?
going to start with this. Okay, here I'll give you my 2 favorite George Santos lies. My 2 favorite, and if you can remember, give me your 2 favorite. Here are my 2 favorite. The first one is when they got busted for claiming that his grandparents survived the Holocaust, and he is not Jewish. And what he said was, no. I said that I was Jew-ish.
Ish.
Oh, what a fool. What a fool.
I was Jew-ish. That's one of my favorites. My second favorite lie is he claimed that he produced that he was a producer for Spider-Man Into the Night, I think was the name of the musical.
Yes,
And
that
it
was
like
the
opened and closed in like 2 days or something.
yes.
So it's like if you're going to lie about producing a musical, at least lie about a hit. Not
Exactly.
lying. That's like lying about, I also helped build the Titanic. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
lie about, at least lie about something that's good.
I took that Jewish lie personally because there are a lot of Jews who claim they're not observant, and that Jewish is actually a thing. It's people who are culturally Jewish, but they're not religiously observant. It doesn't mean you're not really. It's something that we used to. So he took that away from sort of cultural, non-religious Jews. But my other favorite part about it is, like, my grandparents survived the Holocaust. They were in the United States and they survived, and it happened. That's kind of how it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, my other favorite lie from him is that, and I guess it's true because the ethics report showed how much money he spent on Botox and OnlyFans and at Ferragamo. And somebody who spent that much money on high fashion things dresses the way he does.
I know.
Yeah. That's what I wondered when I saw that he was shopping at all these high-end stores. And
And
every
he
time you
looks
see him,
like that.
he's dressed like a college freshman.
Well, the Botox doctor, though, I'm riveted by this story because that's what I'm going to do my song about. And I'm waiting to find out if they think they have the votes. So I've got 2 versions of the song planned. One, if he does get expelled. One, if it gets kicked down, they kick the can down the street. But the doctor who did his Botox is not licensed to do any kind of cosmetic anything.
Oh, wow.
He is a doctor, and apparently he got sued for doing a failed penile enhancement surgery on a client. So there is a malpractice lawsuit. And of course, it wouldn't just be any medical malpractice. It was a failed penile enhancement.
Well, that's the thing, too.
Makes the
If you were
story
going to have a
perfect.
penile enhancement, would you try to do it on the cheap? There's stuff that you'll see willing to save a couple of bucks on.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Your stuff, I'll buy generics of certain things. But when you go to getting a penile enhancement, not that I would need one. But if I did need one, I certainly wouldn't do it on the cheap.
Hey, don't cut corners on that, right?
Well, yeah.
Check this out, though. Here's the thing.
There's Kate.
I am so sorry.
Kate. The way he lays out his lies, the way George Santos, like you said, Brian, the things he chooses to lie about and the degree of importance when they might not have been nothing. Like he lied about being on a soccer team of like a no-name soccer team, which you might want to do to go under the radar. good lie. But then lie about being connected to a financial institution, but choose Goldman Sachs, one of the largest on planet Earth.
And easiest to prove. Yeah.
Honest things, and easiest to prove. And the soccer thing is the least easiest, like nobody cares about. What was the school? Beijing or something that started with a B.
Yeah. And then they called the school, and the school never heard of them.
Exactly.
Right. Or the other one I loved is his mom died in 9/11, but no, actually she didn't die. She survived it. I mean, like, I honestly think the whole thing is performance art. It's like a giant, what's the comedian, Andy Kaufman, who did all this, his whole life was put on, because if you're going to lie about such amazing, and the other one, which is going to go on my song, is he is now comparing himself to Mary Magdalene.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
which I don't get that comparison
because he's being shamed in the public square.
Because historically, supposedly, there's a theory that's come out in the last several years that Mary Magdalene was actually one of the apostles and may have actually been Jesus's wife. And that historically now, because men wrote the Bible and men have written the scriptures and so forth, that she was demonized and shamed as being a prostitute, when in fact she was one of the apostles and was perhaps Jesus's wife. So that's one of the theories.
So Santos is claiming he was Jesus's wife. That's interesting.
That's it. Or a prostitute, one of the two. Kate, welcome. Good to have you. We figured you had some tech issues, no problem.
My gosh, it's so glad to be here. I just want to say that we got to go back to the OG politician. We got to talk about Ronald Reagan, right? Because he was wild with those stories as well. And people palated it a little more because he had that acting background. And now politicians are like, why do I even need to be an actor, right? Like, I can just lie all the time. It's so fun.
There was a story I remember when Reagan was president where he was talking about some World War II mission he was on, and the bombing, the bomber jet or something, and then come to find out it was a movie he was in.
I remember
for real. That it was a movie.
Well. Here's the thing. I was in a movie. Well. We get it.
It's like what's his the TV show about the robot Max Headroom. Reagan always seemed like one of those animatronic malfunctioning robots. I mean, he looks quaint. Nancy Reagan's astrology stuff. I mean, all that stuff looks so quaint compared to, the liars we have now.
Well, what's amazing is Reagan would be considered too liberal for today's Republican Party. That's the frightening thing. Let's see. One of the things, you can't avoid Trump. Go ahead.
I'm in New York, and Eric Adams has been in the hot seat before for lying. And it reminds me almost of the Hassan Minaj controversy, where it's like, what's the difference between a good story if you're using it? Because Mayer Adams was, I think it was a fallen soldier, a fallen police officer who he carried in his wallet. And apparently one of his staffers said, he had me print that up right before the press conference. It was this endearing, wonderful story. And unfortunately, it's not true, but it's kind of like, where do you say, hey, this is like the Bible, a parable that we're trying to teach a lesson to have heart. We're not saying I actually have heart, but like you should, and it would be good if you did, right?
Right.
Well, on the Hassan Minaj thing, I just really think he's been treated unfairly. Because let's be honest, all comics lie in their acts. That's never. Come on, please. I mean, we exaggerate. That's what makes it funny. I mean, you find the kernel of truth in it, or at least the bit has an overarching truth, but you exaggerate it in order to really make it.
But
funny.
As long as the exaggeration is, like you said, based on, like, my mother is from Washington State. In my shtick about her, she has a New York accent because it makes her sound more Jewish. That I think. But we're, as comedians and performers, we're not campaigning for public office and expecting people to trust them with establishing policies that affect them. We're just trying to make them laugh. So I think it's a bit different for a comedian than a politician.
Having had one of the longest running solo shows about being a Black man, I did. I just want to say that's true. That's totally true. That happened to me.
Kate Santos, what's up?
That was one of the Santos memes that I saw that cracked me up. It was him on Martin Luther King's body standing in front of a big crowd and said George Santos giving his famous "I Have a Dream" speech.
He's got to top Melania. Yeah.
There's a meme that's going around today that the MAGA people are tweeting back and forth to each other and posting. And what it is a meme of Donald Trump with what's supposed to be Jesus behind him with his hands on Donald Trump's shoulders. Except what these MAGA idiots don't realize is, if you look at the picture, it's not Jesus, it's Manson.
Oh my God.
It's true. Go to my Facebook. I posted it on Facebook. He's got the head dress on and the whatnot, the traditional depiction of Jesus, except when you look at the face, it's Manson. And they're tweeting it back and forth and posting it all over the place. And they have no idea.
The other one
they're about to blow off. Oh,
the other one, I love that. I thought you were going to talk about this one. They're tweeting out pictures from Rosalind Carter's funeral because Melania showed up and was sitting in the front with all the other former first ladies. She was the only one not dressed in black. And there's this shaft of sunlight that kind of hits the back of her head. And they're all claiming that is an anointing from God because she didn't wear black. So all the other first ladies are Satanists. And this was on InfoWars.
Right.
oh
I mean,
goodness.
What's really classy is that Rosalind Carter specifically left instructions that she was to be invited.
I think she and Donnie were. They invited Donald Trump. He didn't go. But
I don't think so. What I read was it was specifically her because she wanted all of the living first ladies to be together and thought that might be some kind of a bridge with how divided we are as a nation right now to have her there. If Donald Trump would have been there, God, I mean, everything would have been about him. I mean, if he walks in a room, suddenly everything's about him. So it's a good thing he didn't come. But I thought that was that. Again, that tells you about Rosalind Carter. Just how incredibly classy she was. Classy as President Carter is. I mean, whereas as other former presidents have spent their post-presidency getting millions of dollars for giving speeches and sitting on boards of directors and those kinds of things, he was off building houses for the homeless, for Habitat for Humanity.
And teaching Sunday school.
And teaching Sunday school and doing things like this. And it was also classy to invite her because of the fact that Trump has on the campaign stump been trashing Carter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is after Carter has gone into hospice.
I know.
And he's trashing him and trashing his presidency and trashing his administration and all of this stuff. So there's Trump stuff in the news, and I try to avoid it. I really do. So I'm so sick of talking about this nitwit, but there's so much stuff that you can't avoid it. So here's a question I've got for you. One of the things that's being challenged right now among his myriad of legal issues is that there are two gag orders that are in place that restrict what it is that he can say. The reason being is that he's attacking court personnel, he's attacking judges, he's attacking prosecutors. And when he attacks these people, what happens is it's not so coded directions for his followers to go after them. Right. To threaten them with harm. Both of these gag orders, the one in federal court and the one in the New York fraud trial, are both on hold as they are being appealed right now. And the argument that his lawyers are using in New York in the appeal is when the other side brought up, look, since this gag order's been stayed, the judge and the clerk in the fraud case have gotten literally hundreds of death threats a day, hundreds a day. Their private cell phone numbers are out, and so they're getting calls on the cell phone. They're getting emails. They're getting actual mails, through snail mail sent to them, and all this stuff that's going on. And so their response is the argument is that Trump should not be penalized because he can't control what other people do. So does he have think about that for a second. Does he have a legitimate argument? Unless he specifically comes out and says, I want you to go to kill this judge. I want you to threaten the life of this clerk. He doesn't come out and say it, but you know what it is he means. It's like mob boss talk, like, oh, nice score. It'd be a real shame if something happened to it. It's like that kind of stuff that he does. So do you think that his attorneys have a point? That he can't control what other people do?
they have a point that he can't that he isn't necessarily 100% responsible, but what they don't have a point is the gag orders. This isn't the first time there have been gag orders, and there have been gag orders just to color the jury's minds. I mean, it's not just about preventing death threats. It makes it a little bit more urgent. I love Alina Habba, the one of his ditzy lawyers who looks like she's advertising to be a Victoria's Secret model. I don't know. I've never seen more cleavage on a lawyer. But
she's distracting for the jury. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And obviously it's what Trump is looking at. But she said, death threats are just part of the game when you're in the legal system. And it's like, no, it's not. And what that does is create all this distraction. And he's not directly responsible for the death threats, even if but there is a correlation, even if it's not direct causation, and that's creating a problem. And that's what the gag orders are all about too, not just preventing the death threats.
What we learned in intercollegiate speech and debate at UCLA is gag orders. Everyone knows what the larger immediate form of what a gag order is supposed to mean, but it's supposed to mostly target nuance of what could be said that could shade a jury's point of view or the public's point of view. And so when he says things in that mob speak of, somebody might need to take care of that, those kind of phrases mean that language, and everybody knows what that language means. So they don't have a leg to stand on. His representation doesn't have a leg to stand on when he says these things like, we shouldn't let this stand. Somebody needs to do something about what's happening in America right now, what they're doing to me. And then
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Kate, you're in New York. You tell me.
They need to go past the gag order. What we shouldn't, I don't want to look at his face, honestly. Like, not only not say anything, it's like a look, we are in such a society, like he could be doing science. He could be doing, I think the larger thing is like people love to hate one another, People are so united over if he hates them, I hate them. And, it's just, what about love, y'all? What about love?
What I'm curious
about, that's where
Kate,
the Carters.
Because Kate, you come from is it Orange, Texas?
That's right.
A little town, Orange, Texas. And you live in Manhattan. You live in New York. So Is it culture shock to go home to this little town in Texas? Is it a big pro-Trump right-wing town compared to where it is that you are now?
The biggest culture shock was the Bay Area, because I always say the Bay Area is the conservative deep South in reverse. I would get, into polite conversations. My brother works in the gas and oil industry when he has a job, and he was telling someone in the Bay Area about it, and they're like, bro, what about the polar bears? I'm like, he's gonna knock you out if you insult his work. But he was so non-confrontational about it that my brother's like didn't even catch that he was being, critical, because there's a language for being critical that like both sides don't speak. So I'm like, I think it's hilarious and sad, but also, when people condemn people who are living like that without looking at, going to the MLK, he had a dream for poor white people. He started the Poor People's Campaign. And when Upton Sinclair said it's hard to get a man to understand something when his livelihood depends on not understanding it. And that's how I think about where I'm from in the gas and oil and them all supporting Trump, because he's like, I'm going to, Biden and clean energy and all they think of is our jobs, and we can make a decent living, and we don't have to get an education or talk about those things that y'all talk about. And y'all hate us because we don't know how to talk about that language, and we hate y'all because y'all hate us. And so I think it's this like sad loop that's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And I wouldn't have been able to come to New York and be around so many different ideas had I not been in the Bay Area. And then also, in New York, you have more different, it's still like elitist in Manhattan, but, you have your working class people. My boyfriend's parents were bus drivers and they have a pension, and they moved to the South as retirees. And it's funny to me that it's like what was poor in New York now can go to the South and have a nice retirement. And in the South, where do they go? Right. Well, they just go to chat rooms and hate one another. And that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think we are so like Orange is so far from in mindset from the Bay Area. And yet, you know, you have to see the humanity of one another. And because those people don't get to be around each other that much, they don't get that chance.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you can open up and hear what the other side has to say, or at least try, excuse me, the frog, at least try to see their point of view. But when people are spewing hate at you, it's hard to try to open up to see. Like, I can't understand the point of view of someone who hates people based on their gender, based on their ethnicity, based on their race, on their religious background. I can't. There's no way that I could put myself in that position to say, okay, we'll have to agree to disagree. There's some stuff you can't agree to disagree. I mean, am I being intolerant when I say that there are some things you can't agree to disagree with?
I totally agree with you, and I totally see what you're saying, Kate. There is a lot of closed-minded isolation. We're all in our own bubbles. I don't like the both sidesism, though, because in general, I think there are fewer people and there are some crazies on the left, but in terms of politics, the crazies on the left aren't the ones who are in leadership positions. Basically, the Democrats who are in office, like Biden, are moderate centrists. But then you've got these, you know, not just George Santos, but the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Lauren Boeberts, who are just hateful and ignorant and racist, and Mike Johnson, who wants to run the country like it's based on the Bible and thinks life begins at conception. And I don't know. I
would like to see more crazy liberals, you know, like not crazy, but, you know, like
we have them.
Entertainment.
You left the Bay Area. You're here.
They're being kooky. You know, they're out there saying wild stuff. You know, where is this thing where it's like, I want a crazy person to be like, and I love Muslims and Jews, and I'm a Christian, and we all got together and had an orgy. I don't know what it is, but it's like, what is the kooky person that's going to be like, oh, like that's going to shock and horrify the right wingers?
Oh, they're horrified by our very existence. And also, you know, that's I think why a lot of the kookies are in entertainment. I mean,
I don't know. I feel like we're too polite, and like, you know, I love the Michelle Obama quote, when they go low, we go high. And I'm like, being from Orange, Texas, that's when they knock your knees out. You know, they're like, don't go high.
But we can
low.
but I like the variation when they go low, we write comedy about it. And when we make fun of them. I think that's why I think a lot of the best satire is on the left, because they're really easy to make fun of. And and wit and humor are a really powerful way of sort of breaking that down without being mean in response. Because if we have to go lower than they go, it is, like you said, all going to be about hate.
Let me ask you this. Have any of you heard any funny right-wing comedy? I'm trying to think if I've ever heard anybody do right-wing comedy. I mean, I know comics whose political, personal political preferences are to the right and are pro-Trump and whatever, but you don't hear them, at least around here, you know, say it out loud on a stage in front of an audience. So has anybody actually come out the way that those from the left will and espouse a political point of view that's funny on the right? Is there anybody doing that?
No,
not very much. Because here's the thing. It'll start funny, but then the real textures of who they are come through, and then it becomes unfunny. There's a guy right now who came out and said he's a right-wing comic, and he said, "Hey, you know, I say, are you going to have abortion? And I don't think there should be abortion. You know, what are all these black women going to do with their babies?"
Oh my God!
He said,
wow!
He said, "You want to kill them?" He said, "I'll buy them." He said, "Let's bring slavery back. I'll buy them. Isn't it better for me to buy them than for you to go ahead and kill them? Let me buy them, get some free labor, and go from there." So what's
the audience do? What are the audience? What's the audience response?
He was doing it online, and people are coming en masse down on him.
I didn't know he was a comedian. Someone sent me that this morning. I'll send it to you, Brian.
Okay.
But do y'all know Tim Dillon?
I know the name, but I've never seen him work.
Y'all got to listen to him because he is like sweeping everything. And I grew up listening to, unfortunately, Rush Limbaugh playing on the radio in the background. And, I would listen to Tim Dillon and it just like reeks of like Rush Limbaugh. I'm like, I can't listen to this. I can't listen to this. And then it's like satirical what he's saying. I mean, there's some really interesting things that people are playing with where people who would be super, like they're saying offensive things and they are on the left, but they're using that rhetoric, either like calling words that I wouldn't use as a polite Southern woman or as someone who went to school in the Bay Area. But it's like, there is this interesting point, I think, where things tipped so far into political correctness to where you can use some of that rhetoric and not determine like, you're a right wing or left wing. But like, if you look into Tim Dillon, he's doing some really interesting, bizarre stuff where you're like, he's playing with the character of that type of, and he's a gay man. I should say this. He's a white gay man.
A right-wing gay man. That's something I've never understood.
I'm not saying he's right wing. I'm not saying it, but if you listen to his rhetoric, he's using that rhetoric comedically. And so I don't know his personal political bents, but then when you listen to it, you will find I'm curious to hear how y'all will take some of this.
But see, maybe it's like, Charlie Varon, and I'm going to pitch this right now to you, Brian. You should do a show where you have Charlie Varon on as Rush Limbaugh. He does an incredible Rush.
Yeah, he had done a show that was a huge.
And you have me on as Jesse Jackson. I'll come on and I'll speak as Jesse Jackson,
and just have a couple of pundits on speaking in character for the whole episode.
But to your point about the right-wing comedy, because I get that all the time when because I do my songs every week, and people will say, well, where's your song making fun of Biden's, dementia? Or where's your song making fun of, Nancy Pelosi instead of Lauren Boebert? And I will sometimes engage with these folks and say, great, I write about what I feel, so you send me the funny songs on the right. And there aren't any. Their idea of humor is my pronouns are impeach Fauci. It's like, that's what they think is funny. And you can make fun of Facebook giving you 37 options for pronouns. I mean, there is some comedy in that, but
yeah,
it feels like like Greg Gutfield on Fox News,
who has a huge audience, whose audience is you. I've never seen him. Is he funny?
No, it's insult. To me, it goes back to the stuff that, the Don Rickles, the take my wife, please. My wife is so ugly that but there was a lot of, in addition to what was really funny, there was a lot of mean-spiritedness behind a lot of that isn't funny anymore.
It is subjective, and the biggest comedian, has a huge right wing. The biggest, I would say, even pundit in our country is a comedian who has a huge right wing following, and that's Joe Rogan. He is the biggest outlet. A comedian goes on his podcast and their lives are forever changed. He is bigger than any late night show, and he has a huge right wing. So it's like, how can you say, it's subjective to say it's not funny, but even for me, I'm going to Texas to do shows this next weekend, and I'm like someone who I was too polite and little of a woman to ever to be heard of outside of the church in Texas. I didn't find my voice till I went to San Francisco and then in New York. And I'm like, oh, is this going to be funny? And can I say this coming from a place of love, knowing I know people on the other side that bridges and makes fun of both of us, my thing where women in, Texas are like, yes, I'm a feminist. All my guns are pink. Women in New York are like, yes, I'm a feminist because I'm hot and rich. Women in California are like, I'm a feminist because I have my pussy hat or whatever they crochet, but how do I not? Because I know if the second I'm going to start saying like right wing, left wing, they're going to be like, well, fuck you. Or sorry about that language. Oops. Mm-hmm. But it's easy to condone. And I want to be open to hearing them, even if they are full of bigots, because maybe there's a nugget of something good in there that you can find that thing to connect. And I want to also, I'm just like, teetering that line because I know I'm going to Texas and I'm like, a lot of this stuff where I make fun of Texans,
you won't do it to their faces. It's the bottom line. That's what you're saying. You'll talk your smack. You just won't do it to their faces.
No, I want to do it in their face in a way that's like holding up a mirror and not like also not being mean spirited about them. Where it's like, oh, they're being, because sometimes you're being a bully to show something, right?
Right.
Like to show a flip of power. I don't know. But I think this thing of like right wing can't be funny is just not true, or not like there aren't any funny people, because
I'm not saying right-wing people can't be funny. And in my particular end of comedy, which is satirical songs, I just haven't seen it yet. I'm not saying it can't be. And I also make fun of people on our side too. There's plenty to make fun of. And I agree with you. If we can just be funny without being mean-spirited, but also without punching down. I feel like if I'm going to make fun of people, punch up.
I'm finding it in this, when we talk about how we can't talk to the other side, I'm finding in social media, when you're outside on the platform, like you're in a chat room or you're on Instagram, they've got to stick with their stance for all the people looking on. And I try not, like you were mentioning, Brian, just can't take you can't agree to disagree with people on certain things. But sometimes whenever you get them one-on-one in direct message, the whole dynamic changes.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So in some cases, I'll figure out, like I'm having a conflict with someone, I'll DM them. And usually in those conversations, we come to some kind of interaction that is palatable.
They're not as strident one-on-one as they are when they're screaming into a bullhorn. Let me ask you this, because Kate, talking about going to Texas, because when I was a road comic, I used to play Texas a lot. There were a lot of plays. I used to play the Laugh Stop. You probably did these down the Laugh Stop.
Yeah, the Laugh Stop.
Austin and where was it? There's one in Austin. There's one in El Paso, I think. Houston. Yeah, there was a Funny Bone in San Antonio. There was an improv I used to play in Dallas, and with the exception of Austin, I would change my act if I went to Texas, because there's stuff that I knew that just was not going to play. Austin was always different. Austin, I'll tell you one of the coolest things ever happened to me. I interviewed Renee Zellweger, and she said that when she was in college in Austin, she used to come to the Laugh Stop and watch me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm older than Renee Zellweger. That makes me feel good. But that was the one place where that was the blue spot in, even then, a very conservative state where you could say stuff. So when you played places like that, did you make a conscious effort, or do you make a conscious effort before you go that I'm not going to say certain things because I know I can't get away with it? I know I had gun jokes and things, for example, that were pro gun control jokes that there's no way in hell I was gonna do in the state of Texas. There's just no way.
Yeah, if you're not unless you're trying to, I mean, I don't. It's almost like it's not even safe for your career, or you can't even get them a little bit on your side with a little bit of the hint you would do to pull them to sanity. If you're going to stick to your material no matter what. It's not really even, in my eyes, professional. Your goal is to entertain that audience.
Yeah, they're there to be entertained.
It doesn't mean you have to kowtow and make up a bunch of jokes that are completely against your beliefs. But that joke that is like a raw problem creator, why do it if you have a body of material when you could do this thing that kind of hints at it or kind of sticks in there and gets right out? Why do a 7-minute bit on, you're horrible people and you're against abortion? Why do that? What is the goal?
Well, you've got to connect with them on some level. And there's some stuff that, if you go to certain places that you're not going to connect with them. There's the biggest mistake I ever made on stage once. I was playing it was a Laugh Stop in Newport Beach. I'd never been to Newport Beach before.
I know where that is.
And it was right after Richard Nixon
where
died.
I grew up.
It was Newport Beach was there?
Well, I grew up in Irvine, but Newport Beach was right next door. Yeah. Oh my God. It was Reagan country.
So I did this, and I didn't know that. And I did this joke that Richard Nixon just died, proving at the age of 70, whatever it was, proving once again that the good die young. And I I didn't realize that I was in Orange County. I didn't realize that was kind of like where his presidential library was right next door and all that stuff.
They named the airport in Orange County it's the Ronald Reagan. I was rather the John Wayne Memorial. Right. I mean, I grew up there. I canvassed for McGovern as a kid, and people, it was so far out there they laughed at us. And when I'm older than you are, but back when you played there, it's still very conservative.
It's where Kevin McCarthy comes from, right?
It's a purplish county now. Parts of it are, but Newport Beach is both conservative and rich.
Let me throw this out at you. The CEO of Home Depot it was announced today. Bernie Marcus is his name. Has donated over $1 million to GOP Congress people who voted not to certify the 2020 election. And he also says that even if Trump is convicted, he will continue to support him vocally and financially. So, does that in any way affect your patronage of Home Depot? Knowing that your money that you're giving him is the money that you're spending on that hammer to give him, some of that is going to go towards these election deniers and people whose views may not line up with yours.
I've always tried to avoid Home Depot, and I'm terrible with stuff around the house, and I don't know where my hammer is, but I like plants. And they have really good plants, and that's my big sacrifices. Yeah, I especially when I heard about the voting for Trump and feeling the election was stolen. That's my excuse also for not being good at crafting is that I stay away from Hobby Lobby too.
And my whole thing about eating chicken sandwiches, I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A. That's it. That's it. So that lines up with me.
Yeah,
so you don't go to Chick-fil-A?
Oh no, I don't do Chick-fil-A. No.
Ugh.
Specifically because of their Sunday and stance with LGBTQ.
Yeah. Specifically for that reason. I always give Ron By hassle
because he likes it.
Because Ron By, if you watch or listen to the podcast, he's an openly gay comic, and I'm boycotting this place for you. And he goes, yeah, but their sandwiches are good. He goes,
I have to say,
I'm doing this for you.
By that logic, I should avoid In-N-Out because they've always got New Testament quotes on everything. And probably a good portion of their money goes to Christian evangelist things. But it's a little different because I don't think they're directly supporting Trump, and they have the best French fries. So
and Wendy's was one of the only companies that didn't agree to raise the minimum wage for their workers or something. There was some.
Who was it?
Yeah, Wendy's. And I love their
Wendy's.
fries.
Yeah.
Look, we should just drop out of capitalism. So what's our solution? Because this is exhausting. Capitalism is really wearing me down.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you have to get the fries from this place and the hamburger from that spot. And the drink is
and then the lettuce has to come the place that
they supported Obama. And the cheesecake you got to get from this other place.
But at least we're not doing, like the equivalent of the Bud Light stuff. We're not going to Home Depot, giving them a bunch of money, buying a bunch of products, and then shooting them to show them.
Since then, Kid Rock was spotted on a yacht with a Bud Light, and he was the one who lined it up and shot it with a AK-47 against this. But then, maybe spotted 2 months later, he's on a yacht with a Bud Light. Did he forget?
Or was he
ran out of bullets?
Or was he posturing? Complete change of subject. It's something lighter because it is the holiday season. Now we are in the Christmas season and in the Hanukkah season.
You don't have to put Hanukkah in there, Brian. Hanukkah is like Arbor Day in terms of its significance.
It's like Arbor Day.
It's not important. We have a lot of holidays, and I think it's like number 25 in terms of what's important in the
really.
Years. Yeah, Hanukkah is so minor. The only reason it's gotten any attention is because it's the Christmas season and we feel outnumbered. But that's it. It's minor.
So are you offended if anyone says Merry Christmas to you?
Not at all. I appreciate it if somebody says Happy Holidays just because it's an awareness that, at least I think it's like 8% of the country doesn't celebrate Christmas between Jews, Muslims, and Wiccans and a few other folks.
And Jehovah's Witnesses.
And Jehovah's Witnesses, right. So I appreciate it. I'm not offended. I also hope that Christians who celebrate Christmas don't consider Happy Holidays an affront to them. And I play a lot of Christmas gigs. And so, yeah, I'll say Merry Christmas if I'm making money off of a Christmas gig.
Capitalism again. See, there you go.
Capitalism.
So I bring this up because the last couple of years on social media, this has come up as actually a divisive concept, and I'm surprised by this. It is over the movie Love Actually. Have you seen Love Actually?
Yes.
You've all seen it. Okay. And for some reason, people either love it or they absolutely hate it. There are those who say they watch it every Christmas or they absolutely hate it. And so I actually watched it the other night. And after reading all the stuff beforehand, I'm really kind of embarrassed to say that I liked it.
I love it.
I hate it, but not for the reason you think. It's more as a feminist thing because all the men get way younger women, and the older women, like Emma Thompson, they get treated as sad and pathetic. That's my problem. It's not that I hate it. It's still a really well done movie, and the actors are amazing. But that's my complaint. It has nothing to do with whether it's, misappropriating Christmas or not true to the spirit of Christmas. And love is great, but I hate the fact that it feels like it marginalizes older women, and I'm really sensitive to that these days.
I love that, Lauren. I love that. And I love the movie, but I love that take because I'm like,
Emma Thompson is hot. She's hot now, so and she was hot 30 years ago.
But even, what is the It's a Wonderful Life, where when she meet George Bailey and she's a librarian and like
that's horrible.
That's worse than being at the library.
And the fact that she's a working single woman and that's a bad thing. Like Pottersville looks like fun.
I was going to say, I'd rather live in Pottersville than Bedford Falls. People are drinking, they're dancing, there's bars open. I mean, I'd rather live there than live in Bedford Falls.
And I don't mean to be Grinch about Love Actually. People love that movie and I adore it.
Or they hate it. Or they hate it.
But they usually hate it for the Christmas reason, not for the ageism. So, Kate, when you're as old as I am.
I like that, Lauren.
I saw that movie, and I'll go to anything. I'll go to anything by myself or with people. And I went by myself. I saw that movie, and the scene where Emma Thompson realizes that gift was not for her hit me a ton of bricks. And my wife and I were separated at the time, and it made me set it straight. I went back in with a different reasoning to not have her be that person.
Well, so that's
it,
great.
Really resounding, really, really deep. I mean, I bawled in that movie out loud.
Really? I wouldn't tell people that. I mean, I admit to liking it. I would admit to crying during it.
Okay, hold on. I hated that movie. That movie didn't do nothing to me.
Well, I'm writing a lot of holiday rom-coms right now because I love holiday rom-coms, and I'm telling you that's a big one that I'm doing. I don't like the ageism. I have a writing partner, and she was like trying to put this 40-year-old with a 25-year-old. I said, no, I'm not.
Go the other way. Look at the women. Cher's boyfriend is what, like 30 or something?
And that's also weird to me. I'm not here to judge.
30, but
let me throw this in for a sec before I move. This was a topic I actually had. Jane Fonda, who is 85 years old, did an interview on a podcast that's supposed to drop in the next couple of days, in which she said that if she were to take a lover now, he'd have to be 20 years old. She would not be with a man who was over the age of 20. And she said the main reason is because she doesn't like old skin. That's her words. Her words. She doesn't like old skin. So here's my question: How young is too young? Because I always heard that the formula was it's half your age plus 7. You can do half your age plus 7 is as young as you can go.
See, I think formulas make no sense. It just depends on you can say it depends on the person.
Well, you robbed the cradle though.
My husband is 8 years younger than I am. That is, according to insurance statistics, absolutely perfect, because after you get over about 40 or 50, women tend to live 7 or 8 years longer. And that way we don't have to worry about it. We're going to pull a notebook when we're both ready to go at the exact same time. And
pull a notebook.
Yeah. And other than, like I was saying to Brian before, other than having to explain to my husband that Paul McCartney was in a band before Wings and he does not remember Watergate, and I do, 7, 8 years at our age is fine. The idea of being with somebody who is younger than my grandchildren, as Jane Fonda is, I mean, that's weird. And I don't think you want to be with somebody who's younger than your kids or your potential kids.
How about same age as your kids?
No, ew.
That's wrong.
Jane Fonda wasn't saying marrying. She said a lover.
She said a lover. That's right. She didn't say marry. She said a lover.
I dated. I tried to date.
I tried to date.
I did. No, seriously. At 50 years old, I tried to date someone who was 26.
Half your age, basically.
It was a disaster. And the key moment was when I said, have you ever heard of Tower of Power? And she said, where's that? And that was it for me.
But see, Don, you are also where there are a lot, because I have friends who are on the dating apps who are my age in their 50s and 60s, and a lot of men who are in their 60s still want 20 and 30-year-olds.
No. I'm not interested at all.
But you also want to have a conversation.
Zero. No, I don't want to get this off balance. I'm way on the way on the 48, 50, 60, 67 blade.
And if Jane Fonda called?
And that is, if you went to my Instagram, it would go, the hair's gray, the sharp, in shape, on point. That's my
Actually, if you went to your Instagram, you wouldn't know what Instagram is. That's how old the women are that you want to date.
This has reminded me of.
Well, I got some women for you, Dawn, then, because I got some hot friends.
One of my scripts that I'm working on is called the 12 Swipes of Christmas. And it's this challenge. This influencer puts people on challenges to go on 12 dates. And I'm like, instead of just having one couple, it should be the Love Actually, where it tracks all the couples. And we should have we should have a 70-year-old woman with a 20-year-old man. And then
Or do a rom-com based on The Golden Bachelor. They're finally letting it be okay that older people can date and have.
I've never missed a single episode of that show. I've not missed one episode of Golden Bachelor.
You love it? You love it?
I love it.
Now, I've got a story on that I pulled this morning. And that is, this guy is not the nice, his name's Jerry Turner, and he's not the nice guy that he appears to be.
Don't tell me
yes,
this.
And one of the deals is they talked to his very recent ex.
Because I thought he just talked about the wife who died and he cries all the time.
No, here's what the deal is. His most recent ex, he started dating a month after his wife died. She worked for a nonprofit, and he called her up because he had a bunch of his wife's clothes he wanted to donate. Okay. And she's only been gone for a month. Why are you giving her clothes and her stuff away, first of all? So he's donating her stuff, and he meets this woman. She's 14 years younger, and they start to date. And eventually she moves in with him, and they spend the stuff starts, fighting over the finances and who's paying what, and, the cap off the toothpaste and all the stuff, and live with somebody. And the final straw, she said, was when they were getting ready to go to his high school class reunion. And she had put on a couple of pounds, and he said, "Stop, I'm not taking you to my reunion looking like that."
Oh, God.
Talking about her weight. About her weight. And that's when she broke up with him. Now, again, this is her side of the story.
No, Gary. No, I thought Gary was good. Oh, my God, no.
You just broken Dawn's heart, Brian.
You can never have heroes.
Oh, my God. Well, he wasn't actually a hero. That's going too far, Kim. Steven.
I will say that's horrible, and there are plenty. God, my sister's first husband used to give her clothes that were too small for her and say, "That's going to look really great on you when you lose 15 pounds." Yeah. Wow. There's, and that's not. I've never married. No, actually, my first husband used to tell me I needed more makeup. There are a lot of men out there like that.
See, there's just there's certain things you learn you just don't say.
I will say. Sorry to cut you. One of my favorite things about going to Texas is that, in New York, I'm what you call small town skinny, but in Texas, my family acts like I am emaciated. They're like, you gotta eat something, because obesity is so prevalent. I don't know if it's in the state, but in my family too.
Well, is that Texas side? That's also a Jewish thing. My grandmother used, I was, in the 70s growing up trying to diet.
And we're finding common ground. Look at that.
See, Jews and Italian and Texans. Also, we both have brisket. I learned this. I just finished I'm doing a whole one of
my brother came to and I brought him to Katz's Deli, and so many times I think he's an idiot, but I love him, but I think he's an idiot. But when he ordered a pastrami sandwich, which is delicious brisket, he's like, "Y'all got any barbecue sauce?"
But they're connected, Kate, real quick, because Jewish refugees from Russia who were afraid of getting traced to Ellis Island came to Galveston in the late 19th century. They brought brisket. And that's why Texans barbecue brisket. So Jews and deep South Texans have this bond in common. Isn't that amazing?
Lauren, that makes so much sense. You're fixing this gap, because I always tell people, because I'm like, my family's been here forever.
They might be Jewish, honey. Do a 23andMe and see if you have any Jewish DNA. We're all over.
I don't, but I pretty much exclusively date Jewish men. So,
so you got a little Jewish.
So many jokes. I'm not going to touch. So many inappropriate jokes. That's an underhand lob right over the plate. I'm not going to swing at it. All right, I'm going to close with this. Ever since I turned 50, it's like the
last
AARP,
year.
AARP has like some hookup with Social Security or something. Because I mean, like then my 50th birthday, I started getting crap in the mail, and I refuse to use it. I won't use any of the any of the discount stuff. I don't want to belong. I don't want your card. Just quit sending me your crap. When I'm a senior citizen, yeah. When I'm 65, then yes.
Even
fine.
when you want to get into the movies for cheaper,
even when I want to get.
I lied last week and told him I was already 65, so I got a cheaper movie ticket.
Well, see, that's different though, because that's getting over. Okay, if it's getting over, I'll do it.
Getting over.
It's getting over, but don't, I'm too young for the AARP. Anyway, they did say this thing today that I thought was interesting, and that did really make me feel old. And what the question was this: it was, how well do you remember these singles that were popular in your formative years? So, from the opening lyrics, can you identify the song?
Okay.
Now some of these might be a little old for you, Kate, but you know pop culture, you know music. But what was on this list from the AARP made me go, God, really? If you grew up with this song, then you're all right. So I'll start. I'll start.
Want us to yell it out?
Go ahead, yell out and tell me what the song is. Okay, here's the opening lyric. I never meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain.
I guess I'm not old enough.
No.
Can you sing it?
I mean, to cause you any sorrow. That's Prince.
Okay, what's the song?
I never meant to cause you any Purple Rain.
Purple Rain. Very good.
I'm so old, Brian. That's after my time.
Okay, how about this one? I don't mind you coming here wasting all my time, because when you're standing oh so near, I kind of lose my mind.
I don't know that.
Just What I Needed by the Cars. 1978. Okay. Let's see. How about this one? Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Bohemian Rhapsody. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Very good. Okay, you got one. You wake up late for school, man. You don't want to go. You ask your mom, please, but she still says no.
School's out?
Nope.
What is it like?
Sing it a little bit.
You got to fight for your right to party. The Beastie Boys.
That's after my time.
Yeah, I thought you were picking some actually old songs.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. These are. These are. The AARP sent me Prince. It's like, are you kidding me?
Some Ben E. Lewis.
I know. I want Archie and the Archies. Or the Monkees. That's my. I remember watching the Monkees in 6th grade.
And see, when I was growing up, if oldie stations played 50s music, that was oldies. And when you hear your high school songs that are now on oldie stations, that just sucks. Yeah. Okay, how about this one? Some boys kiss me, some boys hug me. I think they're okay.
Material Girl.
Okay, Madonna. So Madonna is an oldie. The AARP sent me Madonna.
Madonna's 65, Brian. She's my birth year, but her birthday is a few months before mine.
I hear her show's great. She's touring. They say that the current show is great. Now, see, you got a look on your face, Don, like really. But they say it's a from what I understand, those
she's
who've
an
seen
amazing
it say it's a great
performer.
show.
So I imagine
I know I would go and have an amazing time, but I probably want to maybe close my eyes and enjoy it.
No, she's had enough.
Madonna's come to the comedy club that I perform at sometimes.
Madonna
I see my show, but she's been like seen at the Stand in New York City before.
You know who I want to see, and another thing I usually won't say publicly, I won't admit to publicly, is I'd like to see Taylor Swift.
So I have to tell you, because I'm of the generation that my friends' daughters are Swifties, and I don't have daughters, so I didn't have that growing up with them. But I have 2 friends who went with their daughters and did the whole thing, like couldn't get tickets here, went other cities, and went. My friend who's a lawyer and smart and loves classical music, she said it was one of the best concerts she'd ever seen, and she does a different set list in every city.
Wow,
3.5 hours.
And what are they getting for tickets? Because it's ridiculous, right? It's
if you buy them at list, it's a couple 300, but you can't because they sold out in like less than a minute. So.
It's in the movie theaters now.
Yeah, let's all go to the movie.
I'm deeply impressed by her politics. I'm deeply impressed by her politics.
I was thinking about
that's going to be a major impact as we move along in this election cycle. because people who would otherwise not even think about voting are listening to her.
If she and Beyonce is the other one.
Kylie Jenner is another major factor as well.
And Beyonce.
Beyonce is a little bit older, but Taylor Swift, because the Nashville crazy woman who was running for Congress a couple of years ago, and she ended up winning. And, she was for overturning, and Taylor Swift defied, we have got the Dixie Chicks who, dead to country music, and you've got this like little princess of country music, and they tried to tell her, don't talk politics, you're going to alienate them, and she said no, and they lost, and she was like, but these kids who are listening to me are going to be voting in the next time. I'll get them next time. So I really do admire her for that.
She put out a PSA, and it wasn't even partisan. It was just saying register to vote, which pissed off the right wing, which tells you what they think about voting. But it caused something like a 500% spike in registration.
Well, it was the first day. It was over 13,000 Gen Zers registered to vote. That was just the first day. The first day that it ran. I think she put it out over Twitter. Is what she did. And they're terrified.
Beyonce are forces in our economy. They're like, let's.
Oh, she changes the economy in every city that she goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, one final one, and then we'll call it a wrap. Let's see. Okay, how about this one? She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories, where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. She's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories, where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. And this one I didn't know.
Just to be talking, I'll say Sarah Smile, but I know it's not correct.
No. Everybody give up?
Kind of Layla. I don't know.
Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. The AARP sent me Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses, the AARP.
That sounds old to me. I'm not going to lie. Guns N' Roses is like a little old to me.
Oh, man. Well, that hurts. Thank you.
Yeah, really.
I'll be breaking my hip by the time we're done with the podcast. All right, where's everybody playing? We'll start with you, Kate. Where are you in New York right now? And you're headed to Texas.
Yeah, but I'm going to be in Austin at Cap City, opening up for Derek Drescher, my boyfriend, on the 8th and the 9th. So I'm featuring for him. So buy tickets if you're in Austin, Texas, and then I'll be in Houston the 7th.
Now, you got a website?
Yeah, it'll be all on my Instagram.
Okay, where can people find your Instagram?
At Kate Robards. That's it. That's me.
Okay, Lauren?
I've got a live stream on Sunday on my Facebook page, Lauren Mayer Comedy Songs, and I'm playing a bunch of Christmas parties, and I'll have a song coming out Friday on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Psycho Supermom, about either George Santos being expelled or not. And then I'll be bringing my Don't Mind Me, I'll Sit Here in the Dark Jewish Mothers show to a synagogue or a Jewish community center near you soon.
Awesome. Don, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, tomorrow night is the first night of Redwood Nights at Deer Park Villa, a one-of-a-kind storytelling night that's outdoors, tucked in the redwoods with wonderful heat lamps, blankets, and red wine. Stories that are funny and moving and all true. I'll host that night. I need some of y'all to be on there. Eventbrite Redwood Nights. You'll find it really easy.
What city is this in?
That's in Fairfax.
Fairfax, California.
Yeah, on Bolinas Road. Then every Tuesday night, I'm producing All Pro Comedy Night in Fairfax as well. And then this weekend, and for only 5 more shows, I'm doing East 14th birthday at the Marsh in Berkeley. There's 5 shows, and it will be adioso.
It's a great show. Don's first show, East 14th Street. Wonderful, wonderful show. Good. All right. And I want to mention that it's Christmas season, so I am doing the annual Christmas show I do. The Jewelry Box is coming to a number of different places. Go to briancopeland.com, and the list of all the places is there. I think I'm doing like about a dozen performances at as many theaters over the course of the month of December. So Lauren Mayer, Don Reed, Kate Robards, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
That's going to do it for this week. We'll check you out next week.
Kate.
Yes. Be safe in Texas, Kate. Watch what you say and be safe in Texas.
Don't tell gun jokes.
Nope. Don't tell gun control jokes. Gun jokes are fun. Don't tell gun control jokes from my cold dead hands. If you want to support this podcast, a number of ways you can do it. One, by telling anybody you can, any way that you possibly can. If you're watching us over YouTube, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers so we can do this live as opposed to pre-taping and dropping it the next day. So go to YouTube and subscribe. Other than that, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Check out next time. Till then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.